Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome to the program. We've got on the line Senator Linda Collins-Smith is back on the program. Linda, thanks so much for coming on today.
Hey, Paul. Proud to be with you all.
How is your Monday going? You doing all right?
Super great.
Good.
I mean, just really good and feel great today.
All right. Well, I want to remind everybody, Senator Linda Collins-Smith is, in my opinion, one of the most conservative legislators that we have, period. She is running for re-election and is up on the ballot next November. So I'm sure the campaign is going as good as your Monday's going. So let's talk. I wanted to have you on because you were a witness, Senator Linda Collins-Smith, to, well, let me just say this. You know whether or not our Second Amendment rights were upheld in the last legislative session or diminished, or you have a very interesting perspective on what went down. And so now we have what would be called an enhanced carry law, and the Arkansas State Police is trying to figure out what to do about it. You have universities trying to figure out what to do about it. What can you tell us about what happened to get us to the point where we are today?
Well, Paul, I was trying not to burst out laughing or to burst out in anger. I couldn't decide which one to do. So I had to wait till you finished there. So I guess I would say, yes, an interesting perspective. I fought to defend our Second Amendment rights. The enhanced carry bill's crap, and it needs to end. I will fight for our Second Amendment rights, as I always have. I am probably one of the few legislators that have crossed aisles with the Democrats as well as the Republicans who've worked on both sides as statesmen. We worked together to come up with legislation, common sense legislation, and we worked together effectively to pass bills, laws that are enacted that, are good bills to help us protect our rights. And what I saw in this last legislative session is somewhat offensive. We did and were successful, Paul, in doing some legislation. We look at Act 486,
yes,
for instance, as one of those pieces of legislation that unfortunately some of the state police, and I can't say just all of our state police officers, so keep that in mind when I speak. I don't put everyone in the same bucket.
Yeah.
I'm going to, I want to make that clear. A lot of folks can read legislation very well, and a lot of our officers can read it, and they understand the Constitution very clearly. So I want to say for our officers, I want to say this, take this moment to clarify that I want to help our state police have the money they need to operate. But I don't want to do it off the backs of individuals who cannot afford to defend themselves. They have the right, their Second Amendment. I want to make sure that we can all afford to defend ourselves. It's our constitutional right. So I want to make sure they understand. I'm going to help them have the money in the bank as a legislator.
Yeah.
To make sure we do that within our budget.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to have an enhanced carry bill that people cannot afford to exercise their rights to defend themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do, and I'm glad you mentioned the Arkansas State Police. I mean, they are putting their lives out there for us, and they are the troopers. I mean, they're great people. I actually have an anonymous source that tells me that the morale among the rank and file is very low right now because of the leadership. And of course, the Arkansas State Police really just is a complete failure to acknowledge Act 746 and constitutional carry right now. I want to go back to the enhanced carry. I mean, you actually did a legislative maneuver that's not done very often in an attempt to put the bill. Was it back in committee once they pulled it out? Tell me about how you were trying to make you were trying to stop what we have now, right? I mean.
Yes, what a shame. Charlie Collins has fought for years to try to get his bill to give some campus carry, and this horrible bill, this enhanced carry bill, came out of that. It was just this little bill to let, to let the professors carry their guns on campus, and that's all it was. And then we get this 30-page regulations out of this bill when it's all said and done, and you have to carry a book to find out where you can carry on campus. So it's a nightmare. Mm-hmm. And so I have to tell you, I was able to get this bill off the floor of the Senate with the help of some of our legislators, even the Democrats. They sent it back into the Judiciary Committee where it should have been. We debated for a while back and forth. They could not get their bill voted out of committee, where we defeated it the first time when Jeremy Hutchinson tried to add a hostile amendment, and but it was pulled back to the floor. And it passed eventually on the floor with many amendments. Debate. We did not defeat it in the Senate, and now we know this as enhanced carry in Arkansas, that now the state police or the administration of the state police is going around trying to gain support for, or they'll just do their regulations and present it however they want to. And again, I don't want to put everyone in that same category as everyone supporting that, because not all state police do. And I have to tell you, we love our state police officers. I'm going to support them every way I can. I do not support this bill in any way, shape, or form. I want it ended.
What about so what about the state police? So they're now setting up regulations. They're now trying to. I mean, I was told that there's some new regulations that the instructors for the concealed carry or enhanced carry license are going to have to abide by. I've heard that some instructors are just wanting to quit, throw their hands up, and say, I'm not going to do this anymore because there's just some incompetency going on. So are they going to regulate this thing to the point where it's effectively not? It's very hard to get, or are they going a step further and actually spreading tentacles and trying to affect other areas?
Exactly. What are they going to do? I think that's the question. I think they are going to have so much leeway that we don't know what they're going to do. And I think that it's very concerning. First of all, they're going to have an opportunity to regulate. I think they have that authority. And it doesn't all come from the legislators. They have rights to regulate. I mean, they are the state police. And so they're going to have some opportunity to add regulations. They already have 30 pages here to present of the regulations. So you know how that goes. They can do their regulations. Then we have the laws that pass. And then what is the cost going to be? Remember, there was going to be no cost. Are they going to tell the instructors, what all are the instructors going to do? Are they going to have to go by and get educated, by the way? How much training is an instructor going to have?
Yeah, they have to pass a test as well, and if they fail it, they're done. So
sure, and they're going to have to, and by the way, where will they go get their training? And so how much more training will they have to have? How many days of training? Because if I have to take multiple days worth of training, then surely they're going to have, I would say, weeks worth of training to be so educated. Who knows what they're going to have to do? And I'm being a little bit, sarcastic, I guess.
Yeah.
But I would think that they need to be more educated than I would be.
Can you refresh?
If I'm just getting a license.
Absolutely. Can you kind of go back to the to the session, because what were your negotiations or your conversations rather with the National Rifle Association? Because in my opinion, I don't know what to make of them. I go back and forth. Did they end up with egg on their face at the end of this because they supported a bill for a specific provision, which was to be able to carry in stadiums, and then immediately the one reason they were standing up there at the signing ceremony with the governor was because of that, but then immediately they file another bill that undoes that provision? What do you know about where the NRA was on this? Can you talk about that?
Well, the NRA went back and forth, and I'll be glad to talk about it because I actually, had visits with the NRA. They actually wrote a bill with me that was just a true campus carry bill. It was just black and white campus carry bill. And then they did not end up pushing that bill when they negotiated with the governor, and that's a fact. They end up doing this enhanced carry bill with the governor. They do a big public relations, big media day, and then part 2 comes of this bill. They undo part of the bill immediately after their big media release, and then I'm on the radio with Mr. Chris Cox. And he was
the head.
Surprised.
Yeah, and he was the what's his position? He's the head.
He's like number 2 of NRA.
Yeah.
One of the top persons with NRA, and I'm a lifetime member of NRA, and I'm very surprised because I've been in communications with some of their top folks with NRA and with the state of Arkansas's Anthony Roulette and others with NRA, and he's very surprised. But I can tell you what you don't want on the air is silence. And Chris Cox was silenced when I told him that we had been in communications with the NRA and warned them of this, and he was in silence.
Yeah.
And so he appeared shocked. If he wasn't, he certainly seemed to be. Mm-hmm. And he said he could not believe that the second bill came along. He could not believe it.
Yeah.
So if he wasn't shocked, he appeared to be.
Well, and, it was weird because you mentioned Anthony Roulette. He was the NRA lobbyist down there at the time. Anthony was supposed to do radio with me a couple of times during these negotiations. And I could kind of smell something was going on that I didn't like, specifically that there was all of this, just people bending over backwards trying to not put certain people in positions of power in an awkward place where they really didn't support, or maybe they'd have been exposed as having to come out against the Second Amendment, or that would have been perceived that way. But after it was all said and done, and all the dust settled, Anthony Roulette told me that the NRA was writing an op-ed that was going to go out, and it was going to be critical of what had just happened. And they were going to tell people the truth. That op-ed, to my knowledge, never ran. And I don't even know if it was ever written. That's crazy.
I don't know that it ever happened either. And I can tell you that I also let them know that some of us that truly are Second Amendment supporters and believers of our Second Amendment rights stood firm to defend those rights, to defend it. And that when the NRA sided with a negotiation of our rights, it was offensive to us. Mm-hmm. And that I also didn't want my colleagues attacked because we didn't support that negotiated bill of our, we didn't, they said, oh, you'll be all right. And I said, that didn't work.
Yeah.
That just does not work. And so we'll see what happens, but we just want to make sure that when the NRA, just like we've seen today, they go out and in the national situation, we've seen that the NRA is now trying to say, well, maybe we need to negotiate just a little bit on your Second Amendment rights when someone goes out and slaughters people because they're a bad guy. Mm-hmm. You don't go out and negotiate my rights. Just like in the state of Arkansas, when a handful of people, who I will say very boldly right now, I've had my wrist and my arm broken, and I've not been out in the field much, but you will hear from me on my Second Amendment rights. I do not like what is going on right now. And that when the time comes and I campaign, I will say this very clearly, Paul, that I will be bold. I will say it like I did when I came before, and I stood up for my Second Amendment rights as well as rights of the life of babies and other rights. They need a voice, and I am that voice for the people. And so I will name names if I have to, but I will stand once again. And so as I feel better and I am stronger and you have me again and I'm on that campaign trail, if I have to, I will name names, because the people that are trying to take my rights away, you're taking them away from my children.
Yes.
You're taking them away from my state, and you're taking them away from my country, and you will not get to do that. So just know that as we come along, that I will be naming those names.
Good. We're talking with Senator Linda Collins Smith. I just have one question. You did mention that you broke your arm. You doing okay?
I'm doing okay, and I'm stronger, as you can tell, as I see this and people not paying attention to our acts and our Article 2, Section 5, the state of Arkansas's Constitution. You've got to pay attention. We cannot have tyranny, whether it's in Arkansas or the United States. If we do not have our Second Amendment rights, you're going to have tyranny, and we're not going to tolerate that. We've worked too hard in Arkansas, and so we're going to do that state by state. And so I just appreciate you for bringing attention to some of these things that are going on in Arkansas.
Well, I appreciate you, Senator Linda Collins Smith. Be safe. It's always a pleasure, and we'll do it again soon.
Thank you for everything,
All right.
Paul.
Okay.
Have
Folks,
a great day.
Yes, ma'am.